Planning your schedule does not make you a slave to your own life, but somehow we are so terrified by routines because we despise control, and a thing as a routine proposes to us that, hey, I am controlling you. So we don't like that proposal. And what do? We end up choosing the route of freelancing our way into our days. And honey, does that ever work for you? Did you ever achieve the goals that you wanted to achieve by not being intentional, by not having a plan? More often than not, we rarely achieve those goals. So, in this video, we're going to speak about the importance of planning. Not just any kind of planning, but meticulously planning your way into achieving exactly what you want to achieve, whether it's a short term goal in less than a month, medium term goal, 6 months, or long term goal in a year or several years from now. Okay. So take it from someone who failed dismally and learned the hard way. It just doesn't work. Okay. Even our creator meticulously plans his way into achieving exactly what he wants way in advance. So why is it that we, creation, assume that by not having plans, we're still going to achieve the goals that we want to achieve? It just does not work. So the best wisdom is to actually look at what our Father does and be like, oh, he really plans so well. So I should maybe also plan my life and not expect to wake up seeing what I want to see, but I actually have to have a plan for manifesting exactly what I want to see. Hope you guys are ready. This is going to be a very informative and so educational video. And it's also going to be really chilled. So relax, take a glass of water, relax, and I'll see you now.
It's my dream, there are no lies. It's cold and dark, just like ice. I'm inside it, left alone.
Okay, so first, let's identify the kind of person that you are. Would you classify yourself as a planner, or you classify yourself as someone that is extremely good at executing what you want to execute, but you don't necessarily really enjoy the planning process or even want to be engaged in that process? So, if you are someone that is a planner, sometimes your weakness might be execution. So, you're very good at like writing very detailed plans of exactly what you need to do, how you're going to do it, when, where, with who, how, all of that. But if your weakness is now execution, then that's a story for another day. In this video, we're going to speak about having the weakness of planning, right? There are people that are so good at just jumping into taking action. I was one of them. I despise planning. I do not like writing. Professionally, I'm a writer, so naturally, I despise writing because that's what I do most of the time. So I don't want to do that outside my work hours. I don't want to do it. But actually, you have to, because with planning, it involves a lot of thinking, it involves a lot of writing. And especially if you're going to plan your life, then it has to be in writing, because even the way you think, oftentimes we do think, but the problem is that the thinking is very underproductive because it's usually like just thinking, like ruminating or just thinking, and it's like it's disorganized in our minds, and you don't really have a direction of where your thoughts are going or coming, or okay, have you reached a milestone now? Have you reached a progress? It's just mixed. It's a mixture. So that thinking ends up just draining us because you're not really going anywhere with just thinking. And that is why we have to think on paper, right? Think on paper. That is the one of the best strategies of being a very good planner, being able to put your thoughts on paper, because when you do that, then you can also see how organized or disorganized your way of thinking is and easily correct that, right? Okay, so let's now speak about the psychology of control. As human beings, we don't like to be controlled. We don't. Nobody likes to be controlled. Even if you're someone that says that, oh, I don't mind, that's not true. Your actions can prove that you don't like to be controlled. I'll give you an example. Children are very good at eliciting a response from their parents, right? They are very good at studying their parents and noticing that, if I speak in this tone, then I might get my mom or dad to get to do this thing for me. But if I come using this approach, I might end up not getting what I want. So this is what I'm going to do to control the situation. I am going to be a good kid for the day. And then after that, I'll speak with this tone and I will be able to elicit a specific reaction or response from that parent. But what they don't know is that the parent already knows all of that math. So the parent can see through all of that planning and then they decide, okay, no, you're not going to control me into giving you what you want in your terms. I will give you what's best for you, right? So that's some parents, wise parents. But oftentimes, there are parents that just give in to that control and it does not work well. So similarly, as we grow older, nobody wants to be controlled, right? Even when you see your child trying to like manipulate their way into making you do certain things, it's unpleasant. Like it's a very it's like, no, stop doing that, don't do that, don't be that guy. That is so deceptive, don't do that. Right? Nobody wants to have a child that is always like crafting their way and being manipulated like that. But if you are upfront about your intentions and you give the other person the opportunity to make a decision out of their own will, then you're more likely to get a very positive response because you're not controlling someone into like go in this way, but you're giving them the autonomy to collaborate with you freely, right? So it's the same thing that happens even when we are adults. That aversion to control manifests in many different ways. So, one of the ways that we show that we don't like control is when you can see in our normal relationships that, okay, this person is trying to, they're trying to make me do this, they're trying to make me react like this. And when you see that, you naturally take a step back. So, that action of taking a step back shows that we don't like control, right? We don't like control. If I'm going to interact with you, then it has to be me making that decision that I want to interact with you. I will interact with you. But if we see that someone is constantly like, ugh, trying to control the narrative and forcing us or controlling us into responding a certain way, then it's like naturally it's a very causes a repellent energy. It makes people repel from you. So that alone shows the psychology of human behavior that we are creatures that do not like being controlled. So if you want to achieve a goal, try to ensure that you use a different strategy. There are better, wiser ways. Going back to our topic, which is planning, what is the link between planning and control? So here's the thing. A plan can sometimes feel like a prison. We might view it through the lenses of feeling like this is controlling. Like my day is already scheduled, so like I'm a slave of my own life. Like yo, is this too much? Right? Is that schedule that you make, that plan that you make for the day can feel like a prison and we don't like that. So as a result, what do? We end up rebelling against our own plans. We end up rebelling against our own schedules because there's something in us, a paradigm that makes us not want to be controlled, right? So if that's how I view a schedule, if that's how I view planning, then it's naturally not going to work because every time I plan, I'm going to rebel against that plan because something in me does not want to be controlled. Which means that for us to actually be allies with planning and use it to our advantage, we have to first change our paradigm, which is the way that we view planning, the way that we view having a schedule, having a very meticulous long term plan with a very clear action plan or action steps of what you're going to do to get what you want to achieve. So we have to change the way we view planning. And if we do not change that, then it's probable that we are just going to go around in circles and keep on rebelling, and going back to the freelancing mode of just doing anything, anytime. And then at the end of the day, you're very unhappy with the results you see because, well, you got, you got what the freelancing deserves. It doesn't deserve you manifesting the day that you want. It deserves you also having random results that might not indicate what you want to achieve. So, how do we change our perspective towards planning, scheduling, to see it as your ally, right? Without a plan, without a plan, you become a slave to the triviality of each and every day. You become a slave to anything that shows up. And that already is slavery. It's already control. It means that you're being controlled by this randomness. You're being controlled by this lack of intention. And that alone is also like slavery. That is the real slavery when you cannot create and design your life the way that you want. So instead of viewing planning as being the enemy, like you, I don't like schedule is the source of my problems. We can instead view flip it, right? So view not having a plan, not having a schedule as your real enemy. When we have that perspective shift, then it becomes easier for us to start collaborating with planning because I see it as okay, you my friend, you are my ally, you're gonna help me get what I want. But as long as we view a plan as yo, this is just constricting me, it is constraining me from being able to do what I want, then it's going to be very difficult for us to follow through with our plans. There will just be written goals that never get to be actioned out. So the first thing is to remember that not having a plan, not having a schedule is me saying yes to being a slave to the life that I don't want to no longer have, right? It's controlling me into staying where I shouldn't be anymore. So if we view not having a plan as being the villain, the real enemy, then that is when we're going to have that heart, that determination, and the grit to follow through with our plans and also the discipline to actually plan meticulously. So, what does it mean to plan meticulously? It means that there has to be a very detailed plan of what you're going to do in each and every single day that is going to help you to achieve the very important goals that you have first. So, most of the time, it's good to make plans, but the most important thing is to prioritize the high value tasks, right? Prioritize the high value tasks. We shouldn't confuse being busy with being productive. Oftentimes, sometimes we're busy achieving this small goal, that goal. But when you evaluate it at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, but it didn't help me achieve the biggest thing that's most important to me this year, right? So when it comes to your plan, make sure that before 12 noon, if possible, then you've already accomplished your most important tasks, those high value tasks that are going to give you the result that you want. Why? Because wherever our energy is directed, that's exactly where creation is going to take place. Something is going to be created where you channel your energy. Similarly, where you do not channel your energy, death happens. Not things that to die. That's why look at plants. If we don't feed them water, if we don't, do you feed plants water? If we don't water them, if you don't give them fertilizer, manure, and so on, they're gonna die. They're gonna die because there's no input there. There's no input. There's no energy you're putting in. There's no, you know, essentials that are needed for the growth of the plant. Nothing is there. So let's also view our lives in the same way. If I'm not injecting the input that I need to inject in order to get the outcome or the output that I want, then is it fair for me to even expect myself to achieve the life that I want if there's no input? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So the first thing is to actually kind of analyze your life and look at how you have been deceiving yourself. Like, how do I deceive myself? How do I fool myself into repeating the same cycles of behavioral patterns that make me manifest the reality that I don't want? So it's not easy because we always want to view ourselves in a very, I'm a good person. I'm a nice person. Nobody wants to see the demons in them. Nobody wants to see the darkness in themselves. But the truth is, the sooner we face ourselves, the sooner we face, those bad habits that are just keeping us so small, that are keeping us so mediocre and average, the quicker we'll be able to achieve the goals that we actually want and like drive away all of that madness inside us. So don't be afraid to face yourself. Don't be afraid. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very uncomfortable. Which brings me to the next point, which is get comfortable with discomfort. It's not comfortable to plan. It's annoying. Sometimes we just want to relax and just leave me be. So it's also important to prepare ourselves for what it looks like to actually do the work. Doing the work is not always going to be pleasant. And I have to get myself accustomed to being bored. I have to get myself accustomed to doing things that I don't like. Because it was planning, writing. For me, writing sometimes can feel extremely boring because it's like, I'm so tired of doing this, you know? But I have to train myself to actually get accustomed to that and not run away from that feeling or that discomfort. Because if I don't do that, then what's the alternative? It means I'm going to just continue to overthink and just keep thinking, thinking, thinking. But there's no actual energy that I'm channeling in a very specific way to achieve the exact goal that I want. It's just there. Life is happening here. And we all know, no matter how active you are here, if there are no actual actions that we are taking in the real world, the concrete world, nothing is going to manifest at all. Maybe something will manifest, but it's definitely not what you want to see, right? So, planning. Take your time to plan your life. What you want is not going to miraculously just appear. I don't know why we assume that, but I think it's just conditioning. Like we grow up just, it's also TV when you grow up living like, yeah, we're going to live happy ever after. And it's like, huh? Oh, those things don't happen. You plan exactly what you want. If you want to run your business in a year, plan that, baby. Plan it. You have to plan and strategize. Okay, I'm gonna work this. These are my normal working hours. But since I want to work for myself, I'm going to have to spend 4 extra hours or 5 extra hours each day investing in my own entrepreneurship ideas or whatever that I want to do, developing my plan, developing that idea, putting in the energy to making sure that it actually becomes a reality, right? Putting in the work, developing my skills, finding out connections. Like, who do I need to link up with in order to open this business? What do I need to know? How do I become a bestseller at this whatever product that you want to sell? You have to put in those hours. So yeah, it's very easy to dream. It's very easy to know what you want, but the how, the how, and with the how, that's where planning really saves us because it allows you to think about, okay, so how exactly is this going to happen? When is it going to happen? So actually, if you have a plan, then guess who's in control? Since we all want to be the ones in control, you become the one in control of your life. You become the one that can actually control when you achieve your goals and how quickly that will happen. Of course, the outcome is not always in your control, but one thing I know about life is that life or God rewards the person that does their best. So if we do the best with what we have to do, like playing our role, and we really do our best, then the rest we just need to leave to God to reward our labor. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, guys, it's incredible. It's incredible how much you can achieve when you just plan. Imagine planning that, okay, I'm going to do this before 12 noon, I'm going to do it, and being very disciplined to actually do it. So, the next point I'm going to talk about is habit formation. So, when it comes to living like that, it's not going to come easy, especially the first 3 weeks are going to be hell. You're not going to feel like wanting to follow your schedule. Why? Because your brain is designed, it's structured to make you operate in a certain way. So you already have very strengthened neural pathways that enforce certain habits that you have. So you need to also be patient with yourself to give yourself that time to develop new neural pathways in your mind that are going to now control and make you naturally adjust to the new way of life that you're going to live. So the most important time that you need to exercise perseverance is that 3 week gap. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's months. It takes months before your mind and body adjust to the new you. But it's important to realize that those initial months or initial weeks, they're going to be messy. So let's not forget to be compassionate with ourselves when we see that, okay, I planned this, but I didn't stick to my plan. It's okay. Even if you just fulfill 60% of what you planned that day, it's something. It's better than you being a freelancer and and fulfilling 0% of what you should have done. So grace, right? Let's have grace for ourselves. And if I manage to fulfill 10% that day of my plans, that's something. Tomorrow, the goal can be 11%, 12%, 30%, depending on how much I'm pacing myself and the stamina that I now have to achieve my goals. So it's really that simple. I hope this thing is still on. Yeah. So it's really that simple. Pace yourself. Initially, you're not going to get it right, and that's okay. But the goal is not perfection, it is progress. Progress. So as long as we are making progress and I'm able to actually have a little bit of structure in my life, that is voila. Then the last point I want to talk about is even though you make a schedule, you still need to ensure that you have freelance time. Hmm. Sounds contradictory? No, it doesn't. So let me explain. So freelance time that I'm talking about is it's good to plan for every hour of your day, but you still also need to give room for spontaneity and unforeseen opportunities, unforeseen circumstances. Because if we plan like for every hour and we don't give ourselves room for something new that might happen that I didn't expect would happen, then it might end up causing an imbalance in all of our plans. So the best thing is to do is to schedule, even if it's like 2 hours or 3 hours, depending on the nature of lifestyle that you live, schedule specific hours where you don't have anything planned there. You just leave them for, okay, if anything unexpected happened, then I can do it that time. Or if I just want to do something, spontaneous, random, then I can do it in that hour. So you won't feel that pressure or that need to rebel in those hours that are already scheduled that, I want to do this. Why? Because you already know, no, we have time to do that later. I've got free time between this time and that time. So do make sure that you have free time. Even for wiring, something like wiring, you can schedule time for wiring. Then you can sit down with yourself like, okay, let's get worried now. This worry, this worry. But the difference is if you schedule time for worrying, at least you won't be ruminating. You can actually do it in a productive way. You can focus on problem solving instead of just thinking about the problem and you're not actually generating a solution. So that sounds really good. Yeah. So what I will ask you guys now is do you have a plan for what you want to achieve this month? What does that plan look like? Is it detailed enough? So if it's not detailed enough, then that is our homework. We need to sit down with ourselves. Okay, how am I going to implement this? Right? And then we also have to have that mindset and culture of constantly researching ways to execute our plan in even more effective ways and better ways. So when we do that, when we do that, we will achieve success. And even if we don't achieve 100% what we planned, I guarantee you, your life is still going to be tremendously upgraded because there's so much you would have created and achieved by being intentional. Right. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope this convinced you to subscribe because I post a lot of motivational content. I post a lot of inspirational music to help you get things done. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Ta-da!